everybody.
Guys. Hello, Liberty
Hello.
fans.
Hello.
Coming strong. That's great.
We are Liberty Late Night. I'm Mary.
I'm Dave.
Yeah.
And
we're doing a special stream tonight.
we're the official live stream to the Liberty Memes community. So,
yeah.
Admin 2 had us set up this live stream for him so he can talk about what's going on in Cuba and what's going on in New York with the they're not protests, what are they?
Yeah, the peaceful protests and everything. You know, I mean, they're being very active. Yes, exactly. So
make
I
sure
want
you
to
hit
say hi
that.
to everybody that's there.
Hit those reacts.
Yes.
Love, like.
You know how
share
Facebook is.
Got to get some people in here.
Yep. I want to say hi to everybody over on Float. I see Slithers over there. How are you, Al? Hello.
Let's move to the newsroom.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's see. Oh, I saw. Did I see T-Roy? Was he first or was he second? Matt says he was first. So,
nope.
Tori. Okay.
Tori
Yep. All
said
right.
He was second. He was first.
And hello to you, Tori and Matt and Ryan Seifert and another Ryan. Hello. Hi, Anthony. Hi, Mara. Hi. Adam Sekosan is here.
New names. It's cool to see.
Anthony Borders, Martini, we missed you so much. I'm still getting over my cold and the kids are sick now, so that's great. Cole, hi. Hello, Lyle. Dunmar. Hi. Walter, what's up? Scott Peterson, how you doing? Hi, Katie. Nice to see everybody. David Gay's going to be here in just a few minutes. He's going to be coming in, you know, over the Skype or whatever, Zoom. I don't know. I sound so boomerish now.
I think we do know who Ryan Ichiroshima.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I can't play your buttons.
Is.
I don't have the buttons set up here.
Did you just have a baby?
He didn't personally have a baby.
Yeah, he didn't personally have a baby. Yeah. Hi, Sherry. Nice to see you here again. Hi, Lewis. What's up? Jason, how you doing? Adam should really have a button, you know.
Oh, we should get. Nobody has a button in this
Nobody has a button on this one today, anyway. So if you see the share button, share, tag your friends, let them know what's going on. Because if you don't know, some stuff's going down in Cuba.
Yes.
And the media is trying to portray it as something that it's not. So David's going to come in and talk. Like I said, he's probably out there promoting the show right now as it's live. And what are we talking about? All right, there we go.
Okay.
Hi, Jared. Hello. I'm going to try not to cough too hard into the microphone.
She got the Rona.
I do not have the Rona. I have a summer cold that my children also caught. So that's what it is.
Yeah. You can still smell stuff.
Yes, I can smell things and taste things. Joel, how you doing? Hi, Jay. Let's go Buffalo, right?
Buffalo.
So we're just going to wait a couple minutes. You'll see stuff like pictures and things here.
Yeah, what is
that'll be scrolling. I think these are people that have been disappeared, you know, like in Cuba.
Yeah, I set that up. There's 52 pictures, I think.
Yeah, and that's just some of the people, you know. But if you haven't been following along with what's going on, David's going to share, not this David, but David Gay, co-admin or co-founder of Liberty Memes. So he should be here with us in just a second. We're just going to hang tight, let him bring people in. You guys share away, please. We super appreciate that. My phone's being weird right now. Okay. It decided to restart at the very last minute. So, Alfredo, it's nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yes, totally the keys. Small boat trip. Yeah. There's so many people who want to go over and help, private citizens who want to go over and do something. And the American government...
15-minute adventure.
Yeah, the government says, no, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to help people. Let's see.
If you don't like the Facebook Jacob. And you do want to go to YouTube or Twitch, look us up, Liberty Late Night. We are streaming there also.
Yes.
Especially if you want low latency, Twitch is real quick.
And for any of your friends who are banned, or if you're banned and you can only see this and can't comment, check out YouTube, check out Twitch, but definitely head over to Float because that's a great place to be. Yes. Jacob, love you too. Miss you so much. Hi, Joe American. What's up? Let's see. Yes. Sometimes I do. Oh, Lyle sometimes does things without permission. So he's ready. Okay, I just saw him. So we're going to hear from David Gay, who has been extremely active in the last week in what's been going on here in America. as people stand up, against the Cuban government here, doing what they can. I mean, what can you really do? Your hands are tied while you're over here, and you're not allowed to go to Cuba to help.
I'm going to say, please say you're okay with Zoom.
Hi, Daniel. What's going on? Oh, Long Life. Hello. Hi to... Oh, Chase. Hello, Chase. 3 days. 3 days in jail. Yep, lots of people getting that jail time, Let's see. Oh, okay. I can see you. Can you say something for me so I can see if we can hear you?
Yet.
Oh, not connected.
There we go.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's going on? Dave's going to bring you on screen now.
I'm all set up for widescreen.
Oh, he's set for widescreen. Can you turn
that's
the camera?
okay.
Oh, you want widescreen? Okay, I'll give you widescreen.
Yeah,
really?
I don't like widescreen
so much. Oh, why?
Let's see. I got to move my finger, though, for widescreen. It's a little more difficult for me on widescreen.
Oh.
If it doesn't work, you can flip
then
it.
we can do it. We can do it on the other one. We don't want to make it
difficult.
difficult.
All right, I'm going to flip.
Yeah, flip it.
Because I don't want to have to... Because when I have to switch hands, I don't want to have to put my finger over the camera. So, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Great. Dave's got you set up over here.
Greetings from the Plaza of the Arts in Union City, New Jersey.
Wow.
A little region of northern New Jersey known as Havana on the Hudson, with a very, very significant Cuban population. Not only is there a Cuban flag right here on the wall behind me, but there's one hanging up in the park right here, and pretty much every single shop has a Cuban flag in the window as well.
Sure.
They also had the largest Cuban protests here in, well, I don't know. I think they rivaled the ones that were in Miami. There were a couple thousand people here in West New York, right down the street here on Bergen Line Avenue just a couple of days ago. A lot of people, a lot of Cuban exiles. In fact, the original Cuban exile community in the United States is this region here.
Really?
A lot of people don't know that.
I don't, because it's so far away.
So if I stand up, down there, that highway right there, that goes into the Lincoln Tunnel, which goes into New York City, which is way back there in the background.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see that.
It's wild.
That is.
So.
That's interesting. So tell us what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I decided it was necessary to do a live stream to do a little dispelling of some propaganda that we've been hearing from the American media, from leftist activists and the Cuban government, seemingly in concert with the American government, about what's happening in Cuba right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've been gaslit here in the United States to believe that Cubans are in the streets because they're hungry, or Cubans are in the streets because of a lack of medicine. In particular, Cubans are in the streets because of a lack of COVID vaccines, which is funny because Cuba made their own vaccines and said that they had plenty for everybody. So I don't know what that's about. That's a really fast Orwellian forgetting of information that they knew so that they could move on to new information. So that's straight out of 1984, to forget that type of information and then move on to the next piece of propaganda as though they never knew that Cuba had enough vaccines.
Right. Well, people believe that, though, when they hear it on the media. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you rolling the images of the people who have disappeared in Cuba. That's what we're seeing on the screen there. The Cuban government, of course, says that everybody's fine, that everybody's in their house. The Venezuelan government says that the Cubans are in the streets rallying to celebrate soccer results.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is not much different. Which is not too much different from what the United States is saying about Cubans demanding more free access to remittances, or they've got a problem with their healthcare system, which, again, there's another cognitive dissonance there, because a lot of people like to tout Cuba's perfect socialist system for healthcare, and somehow at the same time, they have absolutely nothing. So that's Schrodinger's perfect socialist healthcare system.
Yeah. Yep.
So the Cuban people are in the streets for a very specific reason. The Cuban people are in the streets because they have a brutal dictatorship that doesn't let them speak their mind. This is a brutal dictatorship. It's the same regime. It's the same people. It's the same regime. It's the same people. It's the same political party that was in power when my father-in-law was tortured and imprisoned and put in basically a slave camp, a forced labor camp in Cuba in the 1960s. You know, they whitewashed that and somehow moved on to being some perfect example of socialism. I don't know how. But the people in Cuba are fed up with not being allowed to speak their mind, with not being allowed to leave the country whenever they please, with not being able to basically choose whatever type of career they want to make their money. And it's gotten to a point where they've gone out into the streets and said enough is enough. It's sure the COVID lockdowns did have something to do with it. But obviously we've seen it even here in the United States. There are certain governmental bodies that want to take extra advantage of the idea that there's a really dangerous virus out there. Maybe there is, but they've used this as an excuse for all manner of tyranny, and in Cuba especially. So now the right to free speech is especially silenced because Cubans that go out into the street are also charged with risking public health.
Oh.
So
wow.
I guess a little bit different from the protests that we saw here in the United States.
Yeah.
Where it was the exact opposite. You know, that was the one time you could sneak out of the house out of quarantine. Nobody would question you. You didn't even have to wear a mask. You didn't have to social distance. You could just be out protesting. And for whatever merits, you know, I actually do believe that Black lives do matter. I actually believe that there are police abuses in the United States. What I don't understand is how a movement that can be so opposed to police abuse can turn a blind eye to an entire government's entire police force focused entirely right back at their population. Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest example of police abuse from a government that you could possibly have, and they're dead silent. Not only are they dead silent, they're touting the goods of socialism. There's posts from them in the past where they praised Fidel Castro when he died. So the socialist community in the United States is turning a blind eye to human rights abuses in Cuba that are happening right now. Not only are the socialists in America doing this, the American left in general, the press is doing this, our politicians are doing this. You know, Joe Biden himself speaks out of one side of his mouth about communism being a failed system, but won't actually outright condemn it. Speaks out of the other side of his mouth about wanting to help the Cuban people, and then out of the other side of his mouth again, he repeats the propaganda that Cubans are just protesting the embargo or protesting for more remittances from their families, which is not true. Cuban people are being abused right now. Cuban people are being detained, they're being disappeared, some of them are being mutilated, some of them are being buried in illegal graves, are some of the reports that I'm getting straight out of Cuba, straight from people who are there on the streets. They're having live munitions fired at them. They're being beaten with batons, with machetes, with sticks, with baseball bats. There were busloads of Cuban police that showed up to a protest in Havana with rebar in their hands, steel rebar, to lacerate them. And I mean, you can imagine any manner of ill that you could do with steel rebar to a person, especially a person who is unarmed. So these people are unarmed. They have no way to defend themselves except for rocks, which I guess there's a mistake in the Cuban government promoting baseball on the island, because those rocks can be thrown really hard by people who know how to pitch.
80 miles an hour.
Very fast,
so
very accurate.
Some of those early images that we saw of Cuban protesters throwing rocks and other things at police cars, you couldn't believe it. Like, the car is zipping by at 50 miles an hour down the street, and they're zinging them right in the windshield. So that was pretty fun. They turned them upside down. They let them on fire. But, you know, Cuba right now is only, what's the date today?
July 20th.
July 20th. So Cuba right now is only 6 days away from their most important communist holiday, which is to commemorate the 26th of July movement that was the start of Fidel Castro's rebel movement in Cuba with Che Guevara and all of them. So their huge holiday, July 26th, is coming up. And what I'm getting in reports from Havana, it's kind of like they set the stage for a V for Vendetta type of thing, waiting for November the 5th.
Oh, nice.
Because a lot of the Cuban protesters have been keeping quiet and sitting in their house right now.
Really?
But I have a feeling that they're going to take to the streets in 6 days, and something big is going to go down. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to bolster their efforts. It's difficult to even join the protest. Even if you wanted to go there and say, hey, I want to join this protest movement peacefully, I'm not here running guns, hint. I'm not here doing anything, to support rebel movements. I'm just here to support a peaceful people that are standing up for their human rights. In most cases, the people who want to go there are family members of people in Cuba. They grew up in the neighborhoods that they want to go back to and defend against these government abuses. And the United States government has an act by President Clinton that they have reinforced with pretty much every presidency, that if you leave the United States with the intent to go to Cuba, they can send you to jail. And it's very ambiguous how they can apply that to you. They can just determine, okay, you're in coastal waters and there's something going on in Cuba. You're a Cuban American. You're probably headed there. So they can seize your vessel. They can imprison you for 5 years. They can fine you. This is the U.S. government preventing the Cuban people from going back to Cuba to take care of it themselves.
That's terrible.
And meanwhile, we have a humanitarian crisis on the island. And in the past, Cubans did have special immigration status, where if they took to the sea and actually made it to the United States, they would be granted some form of political asylum. And that doesn't exist anymore. In fact, the chief of Homeland Security, his name is Alejandro Mayorkas, and he was born in Havana. And his family escaped from Cuba and in the 60s to escape from the communist dictatorship. And he's telling Cubans, don't take to the sea because we'll send you back to Cuba.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And right now, they're setting the stage for the Cuban government, which is currently drunk with power or just lashing out in fear, to commit a political genocide against people who are speaking up. People who are being detained are being registered. Some people are being cut loose if they sign some sort of a confession saying, oh, I'm sorry I was in the streets. I won't do it again. A couple days later, goons come to their houses, beat their families, sometimes kill their family members, and then they take them away for treason.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is teenagers. We're talking about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who are out in the streets with the rest of the neighborhood, who are getting forced to say, oh, I'm sorry that I committed insurrection, when all they were doing was raising their fist and saying, it's time to end this communist dictatorship.
That's disgusting.
Another thing that's happening, another horrible thing that's happening in Cuba is children of the dissidents or children of protesters are being ripped from their homes. The goons are going door to door. They're ripping them from their homes, and they're putting them in detention centers and torturing them in front of each other. The ones that refuse to go out and abuse the Cuban people with the rest of the goons. So they're taking 13, 14, and 15-year-old boys, giving them wooden sticks and riot gear, and sending them out as the front line, basically like a SWAT team, riot police type thing, in front of the crowds, hoping that the crowds will throw rocks at them and kill them, because these are children of the people who are protesting. Oh. It is a very sick situation right now. And the U.S. media is engaged in a total whitewashing. Anytime they cover a protest, they only cover protests that are about the embargo, where people are like, oh, well, there's this blockade in Cuba, and the people in Cuba don't have food and medicine because of this blockade. That's just total bullshit. Pardon, the filthy language, because I don't usually curse, but it is total nonsense that the Cuban people don't have what they need, just because of an embargo. The fact is that the Cuban government has foreign investments in the hundreds of billions of dollars that they don't share with the poor people. So there's some kids yelling here. That's pretty fun.
They're not yours?
Yeah, you hear that? There's these little kids.
Are those your kids?
They're over here on the fence.
Oh, they're not your kids.
I guess it's a protest movement here in New Jersey. But yeah, so it's a pretty bleak situation, and unfortunately we're being gaslit by the American media. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Cubans are in the streets in the United States and around the world, in places like Germany, in Japan, in Spain, in Mexico, all over the world, trying to, raise the red flag about what's happening to the Cuban people in Cuba the fact that they're not allowed to go back and try to help their families, the fact that everybody in Cuba is not being allowed to leave, which is creating an extremely dangerous situation for people who need to try to escape, especially political dissidents who are at risk of torture. They're not allowed to come here. And meanwhile, the media just says, oh, they're hungry. Oh, they need vaccines. Oh, there's this embargo that the U.S. has had on them. That's really evil. I actually believe that the embargo is evil. I think that it should be ended. I think it gives the Cuban government a really cheap excuse to say that we're the cause of their shortages. I mean, the United States engages in over $300 million a year of produce trade directly with Cuba.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
So this whole idea that the embargo is the reason for the food shortages, the food shortages, the whole reason for that is that the Communist Party itself is taking all the food and eating it.
Right.
You know, they're taking all the medicine and they're saving it for themselves. They're taking the best medical care and they're saving it for themselves. They're taking the best medical care and they're saving it for the people who have privileged status in Cuba, between tourists, foreign dignitaries, and celebrities, and the Cuban government. And everybody else has to figure out how to make do. Especially in the Cuban healthcare system, there exists a form of bribery. If you need treatment, if you need medicine, if you need a surgery, you have to bring something to the doctor that he likes. You have to find a pig and roast it. I mean, nobody even has meat in Cuba, and you have to find some form of meat to give to the doctor so that he'll take care of your healthcare concern. There is no free healthcare in Cuba for the Cuban people. That's just total nonsense.
Wow.
And as I talk about this here, I've actually got a few Cuban Americans walking by giving me thumbs up. That's really encouraging.
That's great. That's so great. Now, you were in New York City last weekend, right? Or was it Friday or Saturday? I saw
that was on Saturday. Friday night we were in Times Square. On Saturday we were in Times Square. We marched from 49th Avenue, basically, or 47th or 49th Times Square, all the way down to 14th Avenue. Pretty much shut down traffic on 7th Avenue, one of the main arterials for the island of Manhattan, for 2 or 3 hours marching to Union Square. And we got zero press coverage. Meanwhile, the press went to that same park that we were protesting at and that we've been at for almost 2 whole weeks, and they covered a counter protest.
What?
So CNN went and interviewed all the commies. They went and interviewed all the communists who were like, no, Cuba's wonderful. Cuba's human rights is amazing. And they're just protesting because they need more food because of the embargo. And it's total nonsense.
Oh my gosh.
Hola, niño. ¿Cómo está? Ah, usted no esperaba que iba a hablar español, ¿verdad? So the little kid just walked by and he goes like this while I'm talking. He's like, nya, 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 nya. It's pretty funny. So I had to speak Spanish to him.
Sure.
Get a little street cred there.
What are your hopes for this whole thing? Everything that's happening. What do you want to see happen?
I really,
and how?
First of all, the gaslighting by American academia, by politicians, by the left, by the press, and by social media, by the way, because they're also silencing a lot of our posts about Cuba. All of that, I hope that gaslighting is ineffective, because we're able to bring the news straight to the American people, straight to the world, to say, no, the Cuban people are protesting because of tortures. The Cuban people are protesting because of abuses. The Cuban people are protesting because they're tired of not being able to express themselves freely, live freely, determine their own destinies, or even leave their own country to visit another one without all sorts of special permissions from the party. And enough is enough. It's been 62 years. It's been, over the span of 7 decades, this government has been terrorizing these people. And not just that, they're the #1 exporter of hemispherical communism. Actually, around the world, they're one of the #1 exporters of communism. What they do is they establish mission works in other countries where they trade doctors and officials and other types of professionals, sports coaches. They trade them to poor countries in return for precious resources that those poor countries have. And I'm talking about countries that are poorer than Cuba are giving up their resources, not making money of it, just so that they can get in exchange Cuban doctors to take care of their people. And this, for me, that's a form of human trafficking. those doctors don't really get paid that much, and those professionals don't really get paid that much, and they're sent there as a mission that they have to finish before they're allowed to determine their own destiny in life. And in return, they plunder the resources of countries that are even poorer than Cuba.
Wow.
In Venezuela alone, there's an estimated, as of 5 years ago, there was an estimated 20,000 Cuban government officials working in every single possible facet of Venezuelan life. So there is a law in Venezuela. It's not necessarily respected, but party members try to make sure that it is, where every single profession has to have a Cuban working in the office. And it's like a communist spirit guide to make sure that you're on the right path as a professional in a communist system.
Wow. That's not crazy.
and that's Venezuela alone. That's Venezuela alone. That's Venezuela alone. There's also Nicaragua. There's also Peru. There's also, it's all over the world. Mm-hmm. They also do this. Let me think. They do this in Angola. They do this all over Africa. It's very insidious, and they do it here in the United States. They do it through academia. A lot of professors go to Cuba and they visit Cuba, and then they come back and they propagandize their students to believe that Cuba is this beautiful paradise.
Wow.
And sure, it's a beautiful paradise for the officials and for visitors, mm-hmm. and for celebrities, but for absolutely nobody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take care of the tourists.
And the Cuban Communist Party over the spans of the last 7 decades has taken Cuba for themselves as their own personal party land at the expense of the people who are starving to death.
What's it going to take to make that change? I mean, we're over here and they're over there.
Well, like I said, it starts with public awareness. I mean, there's a reason why there's been no willpower in the United States to change anything. Because this is, we're all publicly ignorant in this country about what's really going on there. Mm-hmm. Kids that are going to college are just being propagandized to believe that it's a paradise.
Yeah.
And not just that, but they're being trained to demand that for here.
No thanks.
And it's terrifying.
It is.
It's absolutely terrifying. And the words that they use, they say stuff like, well, we're not here to abuse human rights or be communist by force. We just want to be here to promote healthcare and anti-racism and human rights. Those were the exact words of the Cuban propaganda from the 1960s. And it sounds a lot like Bernie Sanders. It sounds a lot like Alexandria Ocasio. So what do we have here in the United States? We have Joe Biden saying, okay, I'm going to stand up for the Cuban people. The Cuban people are hungry, so I'm going to make it easier to send money to the island. That is not what Cubans are asking for.
Right.
Cubans are not asking to continue to have to be parasites on the rest of the world just because their government won't let them live their lives and determine their own destinies. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be parasites anymore. They want to overthrow a communist dictatorship that is currently engaged in the beginnings of a political genocide.
This is so frustrating because you want to do something.
It's frustrating. It's funny because this whole current revolution in Cuba, I like to call it a revolution. This was started by a song.
Yeah.
A hip hop song.
Yeah.
For a fact that I'm a very firm believer in the power of being the counter propaganda. Mm-hmm. There's a reason I run a liberty-minded meme page, and it's because I actually believe that when you get the message out in a way that people can understand, quickly and relatable, that change can happen, that opinions can change. And I've seen it time and time again where people come to our page having, completely state-worshipping statist leanings, and they go away saying, you know what, it's not about left or right here. It's about the government against us. And people are waking up to that in Cuba. The Cuban Americans are waking up to that here. There has been a hard shift toward the left in the Cuban community in the last few years. But suddenly now that they're protesting communism, they're realizing that they don't have allies in the American left. So they are taking a hard shift away from that. And that is very hopeful. The The problem is, once again, Cuban people are not allowed to go to their own country.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell is the United States to tell people from another country that they're not allowed to go to their country?
Exactly.
I think that's sick. I think it's immoral, and I think they should be allowed to go there. You know, sure, there's tourism that's allowed to go to Cuba. You know, on airplanes they can go. Cuba's not currently allowing those people in. But just to say Cubans aren't allowed to make an attempt to return to their own country through other means besides an airport, it's I think it's disgusting. And what they're doing is they're isolating the people in Cuba that are in most need right now of some sort of reinforcement or some sort of at least some sort of refreshment.
Now, the last thing we'd want
So
is
what we do, and the reason
for the American government to actually take action on this, because I'm kind of nervous, like when people are out there demonstrating.
So there's a lot of disagreement about what should be done in Cuba right now on the part of the United States, on the part of the United Nations. I don't personally believe in military intervention. I've probably got some of my fans in the Cuban movement right now upset because I said that. But it is because I am afraid of what this government is capable of doing when they get there. If they are showing us that they are willing to gaslight us and completely ignore the actual Cuban people by the tens of thousands who are in the streets demanding freedom, if they are ignoring them in favor of this narrative that the Cubans in Cuba just want more health care, then they are capable of going to Cuba just to stabilize the situation and keep the regime in power. And that's what I'm afraid of, because they have been speaking out of, they've been incredibly duplicitous, speaking out of both sides of their mouth on how they support the Cuban community in the United States. You know, I do not like this. I do not like the direction this is headed. They are intentionally propagandizing the American people to think that the Cuban protests have something to do with hunger and the embargo, and they don't. You know, the embargo is not responsible for causing little children to be riot police. The embargo is not responsible for firing live rounds to people who are in the streets just demanding a change and a right to express themselves. The embargo isn't the ones torturing teenagers in front of each other. The embargo isn't the reason my father-in-law was in a torture camp, in a concentration camp in the 1960s. The embargo isn't the reason that the doctors intentionally neglected my mother-in-law and caused her death by medical negligence. You know, the embargo didn't do that stuff. The Cuban government did that stuff. And the Cuban government continues to abuse these people and continues to silence them, continues to terrorize them, and enough is enough. There is no negotiation with these people anymore. They need to go, and the United States needs to let Cubans go to Cuba and take care of it themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. I know.
Plus, their big friend allies probably wouldn't like that either. And because once we enter somewhere, we have a tendency to never leave.
Well, you know, but there's another big political problem with all of this, and that's just in general the popular push toward various social programs in the United States based on what's perceived as the Cuban model, based on what you're taught in college and what the news reports about it. So it's not popular, and there's not a lot of political will to cause that system to fail. Because if it does, people will say, wait a second, I thought that was the model system we're supposed to be designed after in this progressive march in the United States. So there's a big problem there. There's a big conflict, and the Democrats definitely will alienate a lot of their base if they say, wait a second, you know, the Cuban socialist system needs to end right now. So I don't think that there's political will among the current party in charge of the United States to prove that Cuba is completely a failed socialist state. You know, it's not like the people who were in charge, and I know there's plenty of their own problems. I am a libertarian. I do have my own personal problems with Ronald Reagan. I have my own personal problems with George Bush. I have my own problems with Donald Trump. But I also have plenty of problems with Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. So hear me out. You know, the people in charge right now do not want a collapse of Cuban socialism. No. They do not want a collapse of Cuban socialism. And I really fear that they could go there just to negotiate and bring people to the table and be like, okay, well, we're going to give you democracy right now. I mean, we did this already. Jimmy Carter went to Venezuela 10 years ago and monitored the elections and came back and said, don't worry, everybody, there was no fraud. There's pure democracy in Venezuela. Everything's fine. And here they are starving to death under a system that Cuba brought them.
Disgusting. And people eat it up because it's on the news and they believe it, whatever the talking heads say.
Oh, admin one's here.
Hi, Peter.
This is not the CIA. This is not the U.S. government. This is not some sort of propaganda from some sort of foreign intervention. This is Cuban people who were born in Cuba, who have family on the island, who have immediate family and friends, whose neighborhoods are directly affected by what's happening in Cuba, who are saying, my people are being killed. My people are being terrorized. You need to let me go home and take care of this. And the U.S. government has categorically said, absolutely not. What we're actually going to do is we're going to make up some sort of weird propaganda campaign about what you're really protesting about so that you can just shut up and go away and we can sweep this under the rug. And what they're doing is they're marginalizing the Cuban people in the United States, just like China has marginalized the Falun Gong movement, which is like a religious sect that is against the Chinese government. And they're here in the United States. They protest all the time, and they get absolutely no coverage from the United States, even though China is actually, going all out to exterminate them.
Yeah. Oh.
And now we've got our own media acting as some sort of an organ for the Communist Party of Cuba and gaslighting the people to believe that what they're demanding is more access to money for the Cuban Communist Party. Because that's what that boils down to.
Yeah. Oh, Dottie's here too. Hi, Dottie. So what now you have?
There is some interesting revolutionary news coming out of Cuba, though. A bomb went off today.
What?
In an area called San Miguel del Padrón. They took over a police station, from what I'm hearing. There was a failed bomb attempt yesterday. I think they blew something up today. They say they took over the police station in San Miguel del Padrón, which is a rural suburb of Havana, in Pinar del Rio, which is where my wife is from. They took over you'll love this. They took over the Legion Hall, basically like the American Legion that we have here, the VFW. The Legion Hall in Cuba is where the veterans of Cuban wars and where the retired military personnel and the officers club is, and that's where they all go to get their pension checks. They set it on fire.
Nice.
So,
was anybody there?
There are some communist officials who have stepped down in fear. There are reports, of some of them switching sides. It's very, very difficult to get information, but also the 26th of July is coming up, and the Cubans they're not taking it anymore. The Cubans took the Spanish colonial rule for a very long time, and suddenly they rebelled. And they're starting to remember that history, and they're also starting to remember some of the tactics that Fidel Castro himself used in order to overthrow the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. And now they're going at it with some of those tactics as well. So, there's a Cuban expression called "se paga con la misma moneda," and that means you get repaid with the same coin that you use. So if you spend a coin doing something bad, somehow that coin is going to end up back to you. And they taught these people how to terrorize a government. So it's time, I think, that they get repaid with that same coin. And that's what the Cuban people are doing. They are standing up, and they're saying stuff like, if I keep quiet, they'll come for me and kill me. If I speak up, they'll come for me and kill me. So I am out here in the streets speaking up so that I don't die silent. And so the least we could do as American liberty activists, as American people who care about liberty, who understand the evils of communism, who most of us lived through the Cold War and saw the oppression of the Soviet system, and realize that Cuba is just a throwback and an old extension of like a mainstay of, basically keeping the Soviet system alive. They have their own Soviet-esque satellites around the world, like Venezuela and Nicaragua. So People who realize that the least we can do is share information about what's happening in Cuba. Do not let your friends and family be gaslit by American media who is lying and not telling the story about torture and terror and political genocide in Cuba.
That's right. Everybody get out there and talk about it.
And for gosh sakes, we are good at rallies. Do you guys remember the Tea Party rallies? Do you guys remember the Ron Paul Revolution March? Do you guys remember all the stuff that we've done as political movement to raise awareness about things? Why are we not leading the charge against the number one threat to liberty in the world, which is global communism?
Mm-hmm. Right on. Where is everybody?
So, I love you guys, and I want to encourage American liberty activists. This is your fight. They have already brought this to the United States in academia. They have already brought it to our press. There is already a hard shift left in American politics. This is our fight, and a lot of it comes directly from that island. And it's time to raise awareness and tell people that Cuba is not everything they're cracking it up to be in the media and in school.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my wife didn't flee the embargo. My wife fled political persecution directly.
Right. Yeah, she's like, I got to get out from under this embargo here.
Yeah.
What the heck?
It wasn't remotely what she said. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad that you're out there doing stuff. I want to thank you guys
for your time. I want to thank everybody for, well, we've got a big march. Myself, I'm not a big fan of trying to appeal to the United Nations, but I guess it's a place where you can get some good press and some attention. So we have a big march on Friday at noon. We're going to be at the United Nations. We're going to have some pretty impactful props that have to do with some of the things that Cubans have to do to resort to in order to survive or in order to escape. We've got some props that we're making for that.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know you've heard about rafts being made out of trash and household items just to escape the regime. We might have one of those with us. I don't want to give that away. But
I can't
Liberty
wait.
activists, for gosh sakes, share information. If you know that there's a protest going on somewhere in your town, be there and tell your local libertarian friends or your local liberty activists or even conservatives or whoever you know, friends and family, say we should be at this. We should bolster their numbers. We need to help them get attention for this. It is your fight. It is your fight. This country and the world is under threat from global communism, and it is time to stand up to it.
Absolutely, and I pray that you get some good media exposure while you guys are there, because that is so important.
Because I'm not really seeing much about it other than in our groups.
I hope I'll be praying, because it needs to get out there. Like the real message, the real thing, the real Cuba needs to be placed in front of people's faces so they can see. Thanks for hanging out with us.
And it's so sad and it's so unfortunate, because what we have a tendency to do in this country is look at another country and say, oh, is that country communist? Well, then all the people in that country are communist.
Oh.
And that is just total nonsense. The people in Cuba want liberty.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And
I mean, look where I am. I'm literally sitting right here next to New York City. And what do we always say about New York City? That it's some sort of a communist hellhole. The people in New York, when I was at a rally last spring, the people in New York were on our side. They were on the side of liberty. They're so tired of oppressive leftist policies. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if elections are entirely safe in certain areas. I mean, we all know that the dead vote, we all know that type of thing. I'm not here spreading some sort of conspiracy theory. This has been common knowledge our entire lives. So there's some sort of, between the party systems, between the committee systems, of who gets on the ballot, the primary systems and all that. Obviously, most elections are a foregone conclusion. I mean, look, we had Donald Trump and Joe Biden as our choices last year. How do we end up with that in a country with 200-something million people?
Yep, that was the best we could come up with, huh?
I mean, just look at that as an example. If those are our choices, there's not a lot of hope for defeating this stuff with democracy until you change the culture. And on Cuba, we need to change the culture away from one of either apathy or praise of the socialist system into one of outright condemnation and total awareness of what they're actually doing. So please pay attention. Please get involved. Please help us with the push toward liberty in Cuba, especially this cultural movement, because that's how it started. It started with a hip hop song. And that hip hop song, the moment I heard it, I walked to my son, and he'll confirm this for you. I don't have to, you can call him up right now before I even get home and say, Noonie, is this true? When I heard that song for the first time, I said, David, within a year, this will spark a revolution in Cuba.
Awesome. Wow.
And it did.
Yeah.
And one of the singers from the song came to our protest last week at the United Nations.
What? Did I see that picture?
Yeah.
I think I did see that picture. I might have seen. Did you post that? Or maybe
December Bueno, he's one of the singers in an Enrique Iglesias song with the other singers, Gente de Zona, who are in the song Patria y Vida. Have you ever hear of Bailando? Or it's like, Bailando, Bailando, tu cuerpo y el mío, llenando vacío, subiendo y bajando. Anyway, it was really popular like 6 years ago. It's a really great song. I love it. But he's like, this dude's like a big shot in the Latin recording industry.
Yeah. What
and
is
he
the
showed
name
up
of
to our
that again?
protest to stand with the people.
The name of the song so we can share it in
the one that's causing all the trouble.
That's causing.
Oh, the song. The name of the song is actually written right below the Cuban flag graphic right here on the live stream. Patria y Vida. And I'll explain that to you. Patria means homeland, y vida means and life. Patria y Vida means homeland and life because the Cuban communist motto since the Cuban Communist Revolution was Patria o Muerte, which means fatherland or death. And Cuban people are sick and tired of this culture of death around their people.
Yeah.
And they're basically saying, if you're not with us, you're not with the fatherland, and that means you deserve to die. And they were like, wait a second, how about fatherland and life?
Wow. Wow.
So they changed the Cuban motto to fatherland and life. And in that song, one of the artists who lives in Cuba and risked his life to be a part of that production, one of the singers says, your evil revolution has ended.
Nice.
And to call the revolution evil in a public forum, in a way that grasps attention from the world and from everyone on the island of Cuba, everyone knows those lyrics now, and they've heard someone say, your evil communist revolution, that is a big deal. These people actually risked their real life. And that's the other thing. A lot of people call posting on the internet virtue signaling. No, we're not virtue signaling. We're being the counter propaganda to what's being said about what's happening in Cuba right now.
Yes.
And it's absolutely necessary to set the record straight about what they're doing to people. Mm-hmm. And it's not just virtue signaling. And as a matter of fact, the Cuban people, and this is what I was doing all spring in Miami. If you guys recall, I said I was working on some Cuba projects in Miami. I was actually going door to door in the Cuban neighborhoods of Miami and convincing people to post about this song on their profiles so that their families in Cuba would see it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it a lot.
And that's where we're at. And now I'm at phase 2 of trying to get people to take that Patria y Vida profile filter and put it on for Americans here in the United States and raise awareness. It is not virtue signaling when it's actually something that motivates people who are on the ground fighting a cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, fighting
because
against the narrative.
Virtue signaling is something that you do to feel good that doesn't make a difference. This makes a difference. Let's be out there. Let's be the loud counter propaganda to what is being said, to the lies that are being spread, to the gaslighting of the real Cuban. It is disgusting. It is racist. Every foul word you can think of, that they would gaslight real people who have real family on the islands, who are watching videos of their own neighbors being tortured.
I can't imagine. That's awful.
Oh, well, they're in the streets because they want vaccines. Or they're in the streets because they want a way to send more money.
Yeah.
That is not what this is about.
Not at all. Not at all. You keep on keeping on,
brother. Thank you guys for putting this on. And I'm going to let you go, and maybe you guys could wrap up for about 10 minutes and give a chat about it. Take a look at what maybe the comments have to say.
All right. Thank you. You be safe out there. Keep it up. Keep up that good work.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll try to be safe. We've even been rallying at the Cuban embassy. They can't keep their plaque outside of their embassy clean of glue because we keep taking all sorts of glue and other forms of sticky substances to put photographs of Cuban government abuses right on their wall at their embassy, and they don't know what to do. So they're if you see a recent picture of the Cuban embassy plaque, it's like loaded with gunk and glue. It's not even clean because they keep having to rip off these posters we're putting on them.
Yes. Yep. I like it. I like that a lot.
All right.
You have a good night.
Vida. Viva Cuba Libre.
Viva Cuba Libre.
I'm not very good with. I have a stuffy nose right now. I can't. Nothing. I can hardly. Woo. Wow. So that, boy. Thanks everybody for being here.
I wonder if we get in trouble for playing the song.
I don't know. I wonder. Oh, I feel bad. I missed the beginning because that's okay. That's all right. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I really had no idea that people were being taught that Cuba was this great place, like in school. That they're like.
I wouldn't doubt it.
That this is.
It's communism. It's the closest to it being tried because it's never been tried.
It wasn't real communism. Oh gosh, wow. Well, that was good. I really want to pick apart some of those and post them up, like just to have little short video clips of him talking about stuff because very informative. And yeah, it pisses me off what our media and our government is doing to make us, I hate saying us, the American people believe a certain way. They do that on everything, Well,
it seems like they just try to build a quick narrative and then just... Okay, we're done talking about that.
And then they're not going to talk about it anymore. If we don't look at it, nobody else will, I wish, I told David, I wish there was more I could do. But he said is get out there and talk about it. Like talk about what's really happening. So, I don't know if it's, I have a cold. I don't know. It's really... The kids have it too. It's terrible, Drew. Summer colds are the worst. But yeah, so that was great. Peter's in here. He's been going to, David's brother. He's the founder of Liberty Memes.
Yes. Admin
1. Martini says play the song. I don't know. Why not? Whatever.
Yeah, I don't think we'll shut down. We'll play a little bit of it.
We can play a little bit of it anyway.
Play a little bit of it.
It's in the comments too for those who want to listen to the whole thing. But Facebook frowns upon
I don't have a scene
sharing anything with anybody ever. So
let's see how this works.
And I'm also not going to understand it, but that's okay. I'll get the feeling from the music.
It seems like it's really hip hoppy from the screenshot there.
I have no idea. I have not heard it yet, but I really love what David had to say. Oh yeah. Ooh, is that what's happened to his eyeball?
Try to break it up every once in a while. That's what I've been telling her. All I got is the float chat on right now. You should mask up. Oh, I don't have the music on. There we go.
Hoy yo te invito a caminar por mis solares para demostrarte de que sirven tus ideales. Somos humanos aunque no pensemos iguales. No nos tratemos ni dañemos como animales. Esta es mi forma de decírtelo. Llora mi pueblo y siento yo su voz. Tu 5-9, yo doble 2. 60 años, trancada al dominó. Bombo y platillo a los 500 de La Habana. Mientras en casa las cazuelas ya no tienen jama.
Okay. I feel like I understand what he's saying, even though I don't understand what he's saying. But I'm going to have to get the translation for this. And I also don't want the stream to get taken down by Facebook because there's things on here I want to keep from David. I want to keep some of the stuff that David said.
He was telling me how like a couple of these guys are the ones that filmed the video and they risk their lives just to make that.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. Like risking their lives. Like, I mean, with that kind of, I mean, our government shit, you know, but their government will come like say something like this, you know, like they'll come
Peter
find
says
you.
He's talking about mothers crying for their sons who had to leave.
David was telling me about the kids that are, you know, being ripped out of their homes and being forced to fight for the commies, you know, against the people who are standing up. And I just can't even imagine my kids being pulled out of our house, you know, like, and being forced to do that. Ugh, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And what really pisses me off is that America says you can't go there. You can't go back to your homeland to help your people, you know? That's stupid. That's so stupid.
Hey.
But yeah, let's believe mainstream media. It's because there's not enough vaccines, or it's the embargo, or, you know, whatever. So, no more lies. My people want liberty,
Okay,
not more
better.
doctrines. We don't say homeland or death anymore, but homeland and life. That's wonderful.
That guy singing there is the one who came to our protest.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's awesome. Peter, are you fluent in Spanish?
Probably.
Yeah, I believe you are, yeah.
Fluent in everything.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading through Lyle's comment there. Yeah. I don't think they know what to do. They know they don't have us brainwashed enough yet to accept communism. And I'm talking over this just so Facebook doesn't zuck us. And I mean, like, take down the stream completely. But they don't want to hurt the socialist government there either, so they just lie about it. Yeah, yeah. Hundreds of Floridians in boats willing to take food to Cuba. Yep, and our own Coast Guard won't allow them to go. Yeah, right? Yeah, your cousin lives down there, too, and she was like...
Oh, yeah,
People don't even know what's really going on. You know, she lives down in Florida, and she's like, they're not even aware of what's actually happening. Yeah, we need the truth, Yvette. Absolutely. Okay, Peter.
The only one.
Kirk says that he's been to Cuba twice. Not that hard. Well, because you're a tourist, and so they do all that touristy stuff for you, probably, right?
Is that Kirk?
Kirk, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
I dare you to
Kirk,
go
too.
now, Kirk. Go now and help the people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I was probably taught that Cuba was a nice place to be, but for some reason you couldn't really go there. Like, you had to only go to certain places or whatever, and then you learn about it and you realize the truth, you know? Yes. Boy, that's a long time. That's a long time.
Oh, I wanted to do this.
Dave's
He didn't ask, but he does have a pool going to help support his activities down there. And if you see that, he's leading some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, can you play? Is that the video? I love that video.
I don't know if that's a video.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just a picture.
All right.
But I can bring up his Instagram maybe.
Oh, okay.
I think it's on there.
I love that because David has the megaphone, you know, and he needs the megaphone. You know, he's very passionate and driven and intelligent, and he needs to be out there with those
Wait,
people
am I
and
friends
helping
with him
them.
as?
I don't know. Are you logged into Instagram?
As myself, but I never use that one.
Cuba was paradise before Fidel. Okay.
No,
Boy,
it must not be.
boy, it's a
Can I
shame.
switch?
I don't know. Are you on mine or Liberty Late Night?
Oh wait, there's a switch accounts.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't give it.
No, sorry, babe. That's okay.
Maybe
He
has
might
on
have it on
Facebook.
his Facebook page. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for coming in and listening to what David had to say. I wish there was more I could do. I do. He doesn't need a megaphone to be heard, though. That's right, Peter. He doesn't. But I'm going to just do what David said and just try to teach people what the truth, you know, do my little part that I can to help open people's eyes. And I just pray for all those down there who are actually standing up and fighting against
What is that? Him?
against their nasty, nasty, nasty government. That's not that one, no, huh? That's somebody, though. But there he is walking. Oh, there it is. Yay.
Let me bring that back up.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot listening to David Gay. He's... Oh, it's good. It's on. So this is him in New York City last Saturday.
He got a megaphone. I wonder if he brought it with him or if he grabbed it from somebody.
I wish I could have been there. Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
So we're praying for everybody down there, and for the friends and family who aren't allowed to go back and help, because that's some bullshit right there. So
if you do want to throw a couple bucks his way, that's the pool he's got going.
That's for him. Yeah, that PayPal right there is for what he's got going on and what he's doing. In New Jersey is where he is right now, right? Yeah. Okay, so I can't wait to see the props that they have.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
I'm very excited to see what they're going to be doing. They just want some media attention is what it is. They don't want government intervention, because the government is going to just go wreck it even more, and it's not going to solve anything. They want to have the people's eyes be open. They want the media to actually tell the truth about what's going on, not this bullcrap lie, embargo, vaccines, blah, blah, whatever. They want the truth to be known and told instead of interviewing freaking commies.
Kirk. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just like, it bothers me that they were there with that big, huge crowd doing all that, and then the news is like, oh, we're going to go interview some people who are like, oh, no, that's not right. But what do I expect from the American news, right?
Right.
He practiced for that in Syracuse. There were about 50 of us chanting and marching downtown. I saw pictures of that. That's so great, Peter. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. My voice is starting to, I feel like, go away a little bit because...
The Rona.
Not the Rona, Dave. I don't have the Rona. Summer colds still exist. But this was great. I'm really glad that we got to hear from David and that you guys were here. I hope that we get to see you again soon. Go out, make a difference, change some lives, open some eyes. We have some politicians that are being, politicians, I don't know. I think Ron Paul was the only one that I ever trusted.
Yeah. You never know.
But yeah, you never know with a politician. So I hope you guys have a good night. Are we going to stay on float for a few more minutes, or no? It's up to you.
It's up to you.
I mean, we can, but Mary got the Rona. No, Gary, I don't. I swear.
Yeah, we can say hi to.
Yeah, and we can listen to the song over on Flow. We can listen to it together. Is that okay?
So yeah, if you ever want to hang out, we can do anything we want on Float, flote.app.
Yep.
If you like us and you're here from the Liberty Memes page, you can check us out at Liberty Late Night on all the platforms.
Chicken soup and whiskey. Sounds good. Good night, Peter.
We hang out every Friday night. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes we just hang out in the chat.
Yeah. Yep.
But thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see ya. We'll be back live Friday night on our Liberty Late Night. Yep. So everybody take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Help Magic Potty Baby learn to use her potty. Flush and you're ready for next time.
Magic Potty Baby, I'm so glad that you're mine.
Magic Potty Baby and her Magic Potty. No water, no mess. Batteries not included.